End of de minimis shipping could be the biggest Trump tariff of all for many U.S. businesses. Starting Friday, President Trump's elimination of the de minimis shipping exemption that allowed low-value packages to arrive to the U.S. without trade duties went into effect. Now let's go look at what this means. So for nearly a century, the de minimis trade exemption let people skip import fees for shipping small stuff. But after the U.S. raised its limit to $800 as of today, that small stuff became big business, driven by online shopping. These shipments represent 92% of all cargo arriving to the U.S., up to 4 million packages daily, and the loss of their duty-free status could result in new costs to small to medium-sized businesses, estimated as high as $71 billion. When I think about the de minimis change, the message is clear. Tariffs are now universal, one customs expert told CNBC. At the stroke of midnight, as of today, 92% of all U.S. cargo shipments and up to 4 million packages daily lost their duty-free status with President Donald Trump's removal of the de minimis exemption for low-value trade. Any imported goods sent through the International Postal Network that are valued at or under $800 will now be subject to applicable duties. While the winners and losers on the retail landscape and among consumers are debated, customs experts are warning the troubles facing small to medium-sized businesses that relied on the duty-free exemption are just beginning and will be significant. When I think about the de minimis change, the message is clear. Tariffs are now universal regardless of value, said Nunzio De Filippis, licensed customs broker and co-CEO of Cargo Trans. Every package counts. That's a major change in how global e-commerce has operated for the last decade. The postal carrier or qualified party, USPS, Royal Mail, La Poste, that decides how duties are collected on packages moving through their postal stream must collect those duties from shippers or recipients and remit them to U.S. Customs. The carriers have two methods to choose from, either a percentage or the country's tariff rate, or a flat per package fee, De Filippis explained. With the flat rate, there are three tiers. $80 if the IEEPA tariff rate, the trade duties put into effect by Trump using emergency economic powers, is under 16%. $160 if it's between 16 and 25%, such as Vietnam at 20%. And $200 if it's above 25%, such as India at 50% or China at 30%. After a 6-month transition period, the flat fee option goes away and all packages will be subject to the percentage tariff rate only. Availability of air freight for U.S. shippers will also change. The number of government postal offices shutting the door on shipments bound for the U.S. has grown to include Swiss Post, Japan Post, and postal services in Australia, India, New Zealand, the U.K., and other parts of Europe that announced they are suspending shipments altogether. Deutsche Post and DHL Parcel Germany, both divisions of DHL, stopped U.S.-bound shipments altogether as of August 25th. For shippers, this brings increased costs, complexity, and the need to adapt shipping setups to comply with new customs requirements. They may also face longer processing times and additional administrative steps when importing lower-value goods, said Andrew Williams, CEO for DHL Express Americas, who told CNBC it will continue to process inbound shipments to the United States in accordance with the applicable customs rules and regulations. Our main priority remains to protect our core service commitment to customers and to minimize any disruption that arises from changes in tariff and trade policy while remaining compliant with applicable custom rules and regulations, Williams said. For small businesses, the primary fear is that the additional duties will eat into their already thin margins and potentially force them to raise prices. Shippers that have leveraged de minimis will not have all of their tariff mitigation strategies available that bulk importers have, according to Brian Burke. So he basically says its elimination will create two likely impacts for consumers: higher prices and less reliable delivery. Burke said businesses will likely pass on new duty costs onto us as the consumer for the low-value goods that transit into the United States, and the increased data requirements for the postal channels may lead to delays, depending on how the other countries' postal operators are able to handle and manage these new requirements. Large businesses that rely on small businesses should immediately get to working and figuring out which suppliers they rely on for what, and do what they can to either help them comply or find alternative suppliers altogether. Ultimately, the impact of the end of the de minimis exemption will extend beyond U.S. businesses, according to this person. With de minimis scrapped, European exporters now face tariffs on low-value items, added customs paperwork, and higher shipping costs when selling to the United States. United States small businesses now lose out on cheaper European sourcing, while smaller European firms lose easy duty-free access, which has huge implications for market access on both sides of the Atlantic. So, if you didn't get anything out of that, but maybe the beginning, it just means that anything under $800 that's being shipped into the U.S. from anywhere is going to be expensive as fuck now, and it's going to be most expensive coming from India and China. It's going to be least expensive coming from Europe, okay? So, but it's still going to have now another added fee on top of it, all right? And the minimum that fee starts at is $80, I think. And then that's based on the size of said item being shipped. Not to mention new complications with customs and paperwork. So there's no telling when you might actually get your things these days now. Because let's say the guy that you do business with in China, you gave him the money, but he doesn't know how to do this new process. Now, he's not trying to rob you or keep your bread, but he's going through a more strenuous process to get you your things, which might result in him sending it 5 months late and then wanting to not be your supplier anymore. This is going to be detrimental, guys. Wake up, man. I'm trying to wake it up, y'all. Damn.